I finished Atonement, the first book I selected at random from your comments. It's been 4 or 5 days since I finished the book, and this is something that I really needed to sit with for a while. Atonement is about jealousy and deception and the lies we need to tell ourselves and others in order to live with ourselves. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but there is something in this book that takes it to the next level, which makes it really good. The title refers to the main character's attempt to right a wrong that she committed in childhood. It's told in third-person omniscient narrative with shifting points of view, which I don't generally love. It probably wasn't necessary to tell the story this way. It works because it keeps the reader in suspense, and that is integral to the unfolding of the story. The characters are Briony, a really self-absorbed and hateful 13-year-old who really has no redeeming qualities. She implicates Robbie, the young man that her sister loves, in the rape of a young house guest. Robbie is then found guilty on Briony's false testimony. And Cecelia, her sister, breaks with the family completely. Robbie's prison sentence is commuted when he joins the military in World War II. Briony ends up becoming a nurse at the same hospital where her sister trained, and after years of not seeing her, seeks out Cecelia in order to make amends. The story is Baroque in its level of detail, and by that I mean it is microscopic on some of the stuff, which I love. I'm a really, really big fan of lots of detail in setting. Not like Moby Dick kind of detail, but I like to know what environment characters are in and the pressures they're under to behave like that. And in that way, I think setting very often can become a character or an obstacle or the catalyst for conflict. Some people might find that level of detail really slow going, and I get that. But this level of detail underscores the amount of emotional baggage that these characters carry, which is why I think it works. Briony is both protagonist, because it's really her story, and antagonist. We want her to do the right thing, but she is her own obstacle in getting what she wants. The book is written in 3 parts in an epilogue, and each section moves the story through time. It begins in 1935 and it ends in the late 90s. The first part is the longest and it takes up the first half of the book, and honestly, I think that was the hardest part to slog through. I'm not sure I've ever enjoyed the writing or the reading of a book so much, but just really intrinsically hated the characters. So there's this really weird paradox going on in my head. Ian McEwan has been called a modern Jane Austen, but I think that's way off base. In fact, while I was reading the book, in the first part especially, I kept saying to myself, but this is very Elizabeth Bowen, and I kept saying that over and over and over again. And then she gets name dropped in the 3rd section, and I thought, aha, he knew what he was doing. So if you like Jane Austen, don't grab this book just because you think he's a modern Jane Austen. It's not that kind of it's not about manners here with him. It's about this twisted level of privilege that happens, which is much more Elizabeth Bowen. I have absolutely no interest in seeing this movie. I looked it up, and Kiera Knightly plays Cecelia and James McAvoy plays Robbie, and I just do not see those actors in that role. Also, I think the book is way too grounded in subjective storytelling for it to be able to be told in an objective cinematic form. I also saw Chesil Beach, which is an Ian McEwan book made into a movie, but I've never read the book, and I really did not like the movie. And I remember saying to my husband at the time, I wonder if this came from a book, because there's no way this movie could get made if it hadn't been a book. And I looked it up, and of course it had. So I do want to read Chesil Beach, especially now having read Atonement. And now I want to read Amsterdam, and I have something else here by him, some lesser known book. So I think I might be becoming a McEwan fan. I give it a 5 out of 5. I'm going to put this pretty high on my maybe top 20. I should think about that. It was a great suggestion, and I'm really glad I read it.